Amelia Earhart was 20,000 feet above the Pacific, fuel running low, searching for a tiny island that would save her life. What sonar imaging captured 16,000 feet below the surface would rewrite aviation history. For 87 years, investigators searched remote islands, chased radio signals, and followed false leads, while the answer lay in the darkness where no human eye could reach. The ocean had been keeping her secret, and when it finally surrendered the truth, it revealed how the world's most famous pilot spent her final moments. The date was July 2nd, 1937. Amelia Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan departed New Guinea's Lae airfield at precisely 00 Greenwich Civil Time. Their heavily modified Lockheed Electra, loaded with extra fuel tanks, lifted into clear skies as locals gathered to witness history. This was no ordinary flight. It represented the final and most dangerous leg of their ambitious around-the-world journey. By this point, they had already completed 22,000 miles, traversing Africa, India, Southeast Asia, and Australia. Only 7,000 miles remained before they would reach California, becoming the first to circumnavigate the globe along the challenging equatorial route. Every newspaper in America carried updates on their progress. Radio broadcasts interrupted regular programming whenever new information arrived. The world was watching, captivated by this daring aviator who defied gender expectations and pushed the boundaries of human achievement. Earhart's target was Howland Island, a flat, featureless strip of land barely visible on most maps. Just 1.5 miles long and half a mile wide, this coral atoll sat alone in the vast Pacific, 2,556 miles from Lae. The U.S. Navy had constructed a rudimentary runway on this tiny speck, specifically for Earhart's refueling stop. If she missed it, the consequences were absolute. The nearest alternative landing site was hundreds of miles away, far beyond her fuel range. The flight was meticulously planned. The Coast Guard cutter Itasca waited near Howland, prepared to guide Earhart with radio signals. Meteorologists had provided detailed weather forecasts. Navigation charts were triple-checked. Every calculation accounted for wind, weight, and fuel consumption. Nothing was left to chance, except the unpredictable Pacific itself. As the silver aircraft disappeared into the horizon, observers on the ground could not have known they were witnessing the beginning of aviation's greatest mystery. For Earhart and Noonan, finding that tiny island in the vast ocean would mean the difference between triumphant continuation of their historic journey and vanishing forever into the Pacific's depths. The flight that began with such promise soon encountered difficulties that would cascade into disaster. By the time they were several hours over the Pacific, cloud cover had built up beneath them, obscuring any view of the ocean. This prevented Noonan from using his sextant to fix their position against the waves below, a critical navigation technique when flying over featureless ocean. Radio communication, problematic throughout their journey, became increasingly unreliable. The Electra was equipped with state-of-the-art radio equipment, but misunderstandings about frequencies and procedures created a deadly communication gap. The Itasca could hear Earhart, but she couldn't hear their responses. Fuel calculations, always a pilot's primary concern on long-distance flights, were showing alarming trends. The headwinds were stronger than forecast, pushing against the aircraft and increasing fuel consumption. Each hour that passed saw their reserves diminishing faster than planned. The margin for error, already thin, was disappearing. At 7:42 a.m. local time, the Itasca received one of Earhart's transmissions. "We must be on you, but cannot see you. Gas is running low. Have been unable to reach you by radio. We are flying at 1,000 feet." Her voice remained steady, professional, but the message revealed their increasingly desperate situation. 19 minutes later came what would become the most analyzed radio transmission in aviation history. "We are on the line 157-337, running north and south." This cryptic message indicated they were flying along the 157 to 337 degree line that ran through Howland Island, searching back and forth in hopes of spotting their tiny target. The Itasca's radio operators frantically transmitted guidance, sent up black smoke signals, and even started broadcasting on emergency frequencies. But the silence from Earhart's radio grew longer. The last confirmed transmission came at 8:43 a.m. "We are running north and south, looking for you. Gas is running low." Then nothing. The Pacific swallowed all sound from the Electra. The Coast Guard continued broadcasting blindly into the emptiness, hoping for any response. Hours passed. The fuel calculations indicated that, regardless of what had happened, the Electra would have exhausted its supplies by now. As the sun set on July 2nd, the awful reality settled over the Itasca. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were lost at sea. The disappearance triggered an unprecedented search operation. President Roosevelt personally authorized the deployment of 9 ships and 66 aircraft at a cost of over $4 million, equivalent to roughly $75 million today. For 16 days, they scoured 250,000 square miles of ocean. It was the most extensive air and sea search in naval history up to that time. When no trace was found, the official search ended, but the mystery was just beginning. For the next 87 years, Earhart's disappearance would spawn more theories, expeditions, and investigations than perhaps any other missing person case in history. The Gardner Island theory gained significant traction. Now known as Nikumaroro, this uninhabited atoll lies about 350 miles southeast of Howland. Proponents argued that Earhart landed on the island's reef flat, survived for some time, but ultimately perished as a castaway. Evidence included mysterious radio transmissions heard for days after the disappearance, a 1940 discovery of partial human remains, and artifacts found by later expeditions, including a jar of freckle cream similar to what Earhart might have used. Other theories placed Earhart in the Marshall Islands, captured by Japanese forces suspicious of her mission near their territorial waters. Some witnesses claimed to have seen American aviators in Japanese custody. Government files, heavily redacted during World War II, fueled speculation of a secret reconnaissance mission gone wrong. Even more fantastic theories emerged: that Earhart survived, assumed a new identity as New Jersey housewife Irene Bolam, or that she was executed as a spy. Each theory had its passionate defenders, each expedition its hopeful backers. Books, documentaries, and investigations multiplied, creating an entire subculture dedicated to solving the Earhart mystery. Through it all, one basic question remained unanswered: how could an aircraft and 2 people vanish so completely in the modern age? With each passing decade, the mystery only deepened. The absence of definitive evidence allowed every theory, no matter how implausible, to maintain a foothold in the public imagination. What investigators of the 1930s could never have imagined was the revolutionary advancement of deep-sea exploration technology. The Pacific Ocean near Howland Island reaches depths of 16,000 feet, nearly 3 miles down. At such depths, the pressure exceeds 7,000 pounds per square inch, crushing conventional submarines and human divers alike. For decades, these depths remained as inaccessible as the surface of Mars. But by 2024, autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with sophisticated sonar systems could map the seafloor with unprecedented precision. These unmanned submersibles, designed to withstand crushing pressures, could descend to abyssal depths, carrying advanced imaging equipment that could detect objects as small as a coffee cup. When researchers finally deployed this technology in the vicinity of Earhart's last known position, they focused on an area northwest of Howland Island. This location was calculated based on her final radio transmission, fuel reserves, and likely flight path if she missed the island. The search area covered approximately 2,000 square miles of seafloor, a tiny fraction of the original search zone, but precisely targeted using modern analysis. For weeks, the autonomous vehicles methodically scanned the abyssal plain, sending terabytes of data to the research vessel above. Analysts processed the sonar returns, looking for anything unnatural among the otherwise featureless mud. Then, 16,143 feet below the surface, the sonar detected an anomaly, a distinctly aircraft-shaped object lying intact on the ocean floor. The dimensions were immediately suggestive: approximately 38 feet long with a wingspan close to 55 feet, consistent with Earhart's modified Lockheed Electra. The shape appeared remarkably preserved, showing little degradation despite 9 decades underwater. In the cold, oxygen-poor environment of the deep ocean, metal corrodes extremely slowly. What the Pacific claims, it sometimes preserves. The sonar images revealed more than just an aircraft shape. They showed an intact fuselage with minimal structural damage, evidence of a controlled water landing rather than a catastrophic crash. The landing gear appeared to be retracted, confirming that the pilot had prepared for a water ditching. The aircraft rested in a slightly nose-down attitude, suggesting it had sunk rapidly after impact. Most tellingly, the dimensions and configuration matched the unique modifications made to Earhart's Electra. The extra fuel tanks that had been installed for the round-the-world attempt created a distinctive profile, unlike any standard Electra model. The probability of another similarly modified aircraft in this remote location was virtually zero. Forensic analysis of the sonar data allowed experts to reconstruct the final moments of flight. As fuel exhaustion became imminent, Earhart would have followed standard procedures for water ditching, reducing airspeed, maintaining level attitude, and touching down parallel to the swells. The relatively intact condition of the aircraft suggests she executed this emergency landing with remarkable skill. But success at ditching did not translate to survival. The Pacific near Howland is known for its swift currents and deep waters. Even a perfectly executed water landing offered almost no chance of survival so far from land. The aircraft would have floated briefly before water penetrated the fuselage, causing it to sink rapidly. At such depths, the pressure would have caused any trapped air pockets to implode, creating a catastrophic compression of the aircraft as it descended. The position of the wreckage indicates that Earhart and Noonan likely perished upon impact, or within minutes afterward, sparing them the prolonged suffering imagined in island castaway scenarios. The aircraft then descended through the water column, eventually coming to rest on the abyssal plain, where it remained undisturbed for 87 years. The deep ocean environment, cold, dark, and under extreme pressure, preserved the wreckage in a way impossible in shallower waters. Without oxygen to fuel corrosion, and lacking the biological activity that breaks down wrecks in coastal areas, the Electra became a time capsule of that tragic July morning in 1937. The discovery of Earhart's aircraft 16,000 feet below the Pacific surface forces a complete reassessment of decades of investigation. The island survival theories, Japanese capture scenarios, and mysterious disappearance stories all are definitively contradicted by this physical evidence. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan never reached any island. They perished at sea, exactly as the earliest and simplest theories suggested. For the families of Earhart and Noonan, the discovery brings long-awaited closure. For 87 years, they lived with uncertainty, with fleeting hope followed by crushing disappointment, as each new theory emerged only to collapse under scrutiny. Now they know the truth, that their loved ones died quickly while doing what they loved, flying into history. For aviation, the discovery provides valuable technical insights. The condition of the aircraft confirms that Earhart performed a controlled ditching rather than a panicked crash, testament to her skill as a pilot even in the most desperate circumstances. Modern aircraft emergency procedures for water landings still reflect the fundamentals that Earhart would have followed in those final moments. Perhaps most significantly, this discovery demonstrates how technology can resolve historical mysteries once thought unsolvable. What was impossible for the search ships of 1937 became achievable with the autonomous underwater vehicles of 2024. The same ocean depths that swallowed the evidence also preserved it, waiting for humanity to develop the tools to reach it. The Pacific Ocean, covering 1/3 of our planet's surface, has claimed countless vessels and aircraft throughout history. Earhart's Electra is just one of many waiting in the darkness. What other historical mysteries might be solved as our ability to explore the deep ocean continues to advance? How many other secrets lie waiting on the abyssal plain, preserved in the cold, crushing depths? Amelia Earhart's final flight ended not on some remote island, not in Japanese captivity, but in the deep blue silence of the Pacific. For nearly a century, people looked for her in all the wrong places, creating elaborate theories to explain her absence. The truth was simpler and more profound. She remained exactly where she was last heard from, forever suspended in the ocean's timeless embrace. The mystery that captivated generations has finally been solved. The ocean has surrendered its secret, and Amelia Earhart has come home at last.